So you feel as though you've saved enough in your nest egg and you're ready to make that next leap into retirement. First of all, congratulations. It's an incredible accomplishment. A lot of hard work has been done to get to this point, and that should be commended. But what do you do next? I think we all understand that as exciting as retirement is, it also comes with a couple of key decisions. In my mind, retirement essentially kicks off a string of high-impact financial decisions that, for better or for worse, need to be made in a relatively short period of time. It's typically the first 3 to 5 years of our retirement where we're making these key decisions that are ultimately going to impact our financial well-being and our financial trajectory for the next several decades. So it's so important that we get them right. Throughout my time as a retirement planner, I can tell you that each and every plan is meant to come out looking different. We each come to the table with a unique set of circumstances, different priorities, and quite frankly, a different asset base. But despite whether your nest egg is $500,000 or $5 million, the process itself can be repeated across any number of households to develop a successful retirement plan. That is a plan that provides you the confidence and clarity that you need to truly enjoy your retirement years. I find that process is best developed through a series of questions. If we're asking the right questions, then our own unique right answers should begin to reveal themselves. So throughout the rest of this video, we're going to be focused on asking the right questions. Now, my intention is not to leave you with more questions than answers. I fully intend to present you with what I feel are some of the most effective and universally trusted retirement planning strategies. Strategies that I implement on behalf of clients almost every day. While these strategies are not meant to be taken as specific investment or planning advice, my hope is that by walking step by step through these questions and potential answers, your own unique answers start to reveal themselves to you. So without further ado, let's get into it, starting with question 1. If I could do anything, what would I do? We start in the philosophical realm because retirement offers us this unique opportunity to reset and recalibrate our lifestyle. It would be a shame to not take a step back and before beginning to do any of the financial planning, take advantage of this opportunity to build a vision. I understand that oftentimes retirement might just mean sticking with normal routines, but having more time and flexibility to spend traveling or with family, or just embracing a hobby that you might like. On the other hand, for others, it might mean a genuine reset. I have clients who have started businesses in retirement, others who have gone back and taken college courses in things that they're just genuinely interested in, others who have reset geographically and relocated throughout their retirement. The point is that retirement visions will look different for everyone involved. And so before we get into the actual planning process, we have to ask these questions of, what is my vision? What are the things that I can't live in retirement without? And what are the passions that I hope to explore? Once we have that vision built, we can then begin to start forming a plan around that vision, which brings us on to question 2. Now we come to the classic, the big one. How much money do I need? As a retirement planner, I really don't like this question because when most people are framing this question in their mind, they're looking for a specific dollar amount that they need saved in order to live the way they want to live and not have to worry about their retirement. And quite frankly, that's just not a good starting point. We want to start by reframing this question in terms of monthly expenses. How much money do you need per month in order to live the way that you want to live in retirement? And when it comes to answering this question, we're essentially trying to solve a simple equation. This is what is known as retirement income planning, where we need your desired retirement lifestyle to directly align with your monthly income. When it comes to solving this equation, I would encourage you to start on the expense side of things for 2 reasons. First and foremost, We just took the time to build this retirement vision, so we need to incorporate that into that monthly expense number. The second reason that we want to start on the expense side of the equation is because we simply have more historical information at our fingertips when it comes to our expenses. We can very quickly look back and see how much we've been spending on a monthly basis in order to maintain our current lifestyle. What the research shows is that retirees can typically expect to spend anywhere between 80 and 100% of whatever they were spending on monthly lifestyle pre-retirement will carry over to post-retirement. So what that means is that the data shows that retirement spending doesn't necessarily deviate all that much from pre-retirement spending. Now, obviously, there are exceptions to that rule, particularly if you're buying a cash-intensive asset or you plan on traveling quite a bit more throughout your retirement. Those are expenses where we need to work those into a plan. However, in terms of day-to-day lifestyle, the research tends to show that spending doesn't necessarily deviate all that much. The third item that I have listed here is healthcare expenses, because healthcare can be sneaky when it comes to retirement. For the majority of us, we're used to paying healthcare costs through our biweekly or monthly paycheck. And so it's an expense that we never really paid much attention to. It's money that we never really necessarily had. However, when it comes to retirement, this now becomes an out-of-pocket expense. And as you can imagine, insuring anyone of retirement age can be quite expensive, whether you're already eligible for Medicare or you're going to be seeking private insurance. So this is an expense that we want to incorporate into our monthly budget in order to make sure that it's not cutting into that retirement vision, that retirement budget that we've developed as a result of that vision. Once we've established what that monthly expense number is going to look like, how much money we need to truly live the way we want to live throughout our retirement, while incorporating that retirement vision, we can now move over to the other side of this equation, which is the monthly income side of the equation. When it comes to balancing this equation and starting to look at your monthly income sources, we are essentially trying to create monthly retirement paychecks. And those paychecks are likely going to come from a number of different sources. Some of them will be fixed or guaranteed income sources. Some of them will be variable. I would encourage you to start, when building your monthly income plan, to start on the fixed or guaranteed income side. Why? Because when we're building a retirement income plan, we want to start with what is most concrete, what is most solid. And that would be things like fixed income sources, Social Security, pension, things of that nature. We can quickly begin to tally up what we can expect in terms of those monthly benefits from things like Social Security and pension. Once again, things that we have at our fingertips where we can start to put numbers to these items. I don't want to just gloss over the fact that both Social Security and pension require a lot of individual attention. I don't go all that deep into Social Security and pension decisions in this particular video because, quite frankly, we could take the next 10 minutes discussing Social Security and pension, and we would only be scratching the surface. But I want to emphasize the fact that both Social Security and, if you have a pension available to you, both these decisions should be looked at independently and find the best possible strategy based on your unique needs, your life expectancy, your spouse's life expectancy, and things of that nature. With all of that being said, let's assume that we can get to a reasonably accurate number in terms of what we can expect in terms of our fixed retirement paychecks. Now, what we tend to find in modern retirements is that our fixed income sources are oftentimes not enough to fully cover that desired retirement monthly expense number. So essentially, we have to create an additional retirement paycheck. And in most retirements today, that additional retirement paycheck tends to come from an asset withdrawal. We know that when it comes to withdrawing from our nest egg, we have to be much more strategic because this is essentially a finite pool of assets. If we take too much too early on, we can theoretically diminish that portfolio. So we have to be extremely strategic in how much we're taking from our portfolio on a monthly basis in order to supplement our fixed income sources. In order to complete our income plan, we need to move on to question number 3, which has to do with asset withdrawals. When it comes to determining our asset withdrawal strategy, we are trying to create an additional monthly retirement paycheck in the form of a withdrawal from our nest egg to supplement our fixed income sources. When it comes to our asset withdrawal strategy, we know we have to be strategic. We're essentially doing a tightrope walk, where on the one hand, we would like to receive as much retirement income as possible from this paycheck in order to create the highest quality lifestyle for ourselves throughout retirement. On the other hand, we are working with a finite or variable asset base. And we know that if we take too much too early on from this asset base, we are essentially or could destabilize our retirement plan. So that is the balance that we're trying to strike when it comes to determining our asset withdrawal strategy. As a fantastic jumping off point, in order to start estimating how much you can safely take from your asset base each month or each year, I would encourage you to start with what is known as the 4% safe withdrawal rate. A little background on the 4% safe withdrawal rate. It was developed by a certified financial planner back in the 90s called Bill Bengen. He's still quite a thought leader within the retirement planning space and just quite frankly, a brilliant guy. And Bill Bengen, using historical market data, came up with this equation. He determined that if we take the starting value at the time of your retirement of your total retirement nest egg, so this would be things like IRAs, 401ks, even cash accounts, essentially anything that you plan on withdrawing from throughout your retirement would go into this number. So we establish what your starting nest egg value is, and we multiply that by 4%. So to make the math easy, let's say $1 million nest egg at the time of retirement multiplied by 4% equals $40,000. That $40,000 would be your first year's total withdrawal from the portfolio. Each subsequent year, you would then increase that $40,000 by the rate of inflation in order to maintain your spending power. So each year we would be increasing our withdrawal to maintain that spending power. The magic behind the 4% safe withdrawal rate and what Bill Bengen established by looking at historical market returns is that there has never been a time where this withdrawal strategy over the course of a 30-year retirement would have run out of money. Now, obviously, past performance does not dictate future results, but to this day, the 4% safe withdrawal rate maintains its efficacy in maintaining the stability of your portfolio over retirement. So it's a fantastic jumping off point in order to begin estimating exactly how much we can expect those monthly retirement paychecks to be using the 4% safe withdrawal rate. While the 4% safe withdrawal rate does a fantastic job of protecting the longevity of our portfolio, it also comes with some shortcomings to be aware of. See, Bill Bengen developed the 4% safe withdrawal rate to withstand the worst market conditions on record, meaning you could have retired in the Great Depression, the Great Recession, hyperinflation of the 1970s, or even Black Monday of 1987. And the 4% safe withdrawal rate would have withstood any 30-year retirement period during those times. However, what happens in the case where you don't happen to retire in the worst market conditions on record? Well, what we tend to see is that retirees end up leaving quite a bit of money on the table. So in this particular example, we run an asset projection model on $1 million portfolio starting at the age of retirement. We utilize a diversified portfolio and the 4% safe withdrawal rate. I know the numbers are small here, but what you see is an upward trajectory where the retiree would end up with more than double they had initially started retirement with. Now, that might sound fantastic in theory, but in actuality, many of us would look at this asset model and say, that's a lot of high quality life experience left on the table. So in order to address the shortcomings of the 4% safe withdrawal rate, I would encourage you to consider an additional asset withdrawal strategy, what is known as a dynamic asset withdrawal strategy. Remember, we're still at the income planning phase where we've established or at least estimated how much you'll be receiving in terms of fixed or guaranteed income sources. We're now trying to establish a withdrawal strategy that will act as a supplement or create an additional retirement paycheck in order to add to your monthly retirement income. In doing so, we're trying to walk this tightrope walk of getting as much income to you as possible throughout your retirement while also protecting the longevity and stability of the overall plan. We've discussed the 4% safe withdrawal rate and its shortcomings. It does a fantastic job of protecting the longevity of the portfolio, but it also tends to leave a lot of retirement income on the table for retirees, which has led us to explore a dynamic withdrawal strategy. I tend to use what is known as a guardrail strategy when working with clients for a number of different reasons. On the slide shown, you see the red wavy line representing the portfolio value. In the case of a guardrail strategy, we are essentially going to be reacting to the portfolio value throughout your retirement. And in doing so, we'll be making sure you are always taking the optimal amount from the portfolio each year. In the case of utilizing guardrails, we can actually start by taking more from the portfolio initially because we're going to be reacting to market conditions. So in the case of $1 million portfolio, we can actually start by taking 5% or 25% more from the portfolio initially. Now, as the portfolio value fluctuates, we still want to make sure that we're putting a safeguard in place and make sure that we're not taking too much too early on. So the way that that lower guardrail works, represented by the green line, is in the case that that $50,000 withdrawal that we've been taking for the first few years of retirement, if that $50,000 withdrawal gets to the point where it now represents a 6% withdrawal rate, or the portfolio value has dropped to $833,000 per year, well, we are no longer taking at a sustainable rate, and we need to cut spending in order to get back up into the guardrails. This isn't terribly counterintuitive to how we would react in times of economic turmoil. When times are tough in the economy, we tend to spend less. However, the upside of guardrails is that the same can be true in times of economic prosperity. If our $50,000 withdrawal now represents a 4% withdrawal rate, in other words, the portfolio value has increased to $1.25 million, then we can afford to take more from the portfolio, and that's exactly what we do. When we run the same asset projection model on the same portfolio, but this time using a guardrail strategy, we see what the aerospace world would qualify as a controlled descent. We are walking that fine line of consistently taking as much from the portfolio as we can, getting the highest quality experience out of our retirement, while always protecting the longevity and the stability of our overall plan. Essentially, guardrails are highly customizable and allow you to take advantage of your hard-earned nest egg while making sure that you're always protecting the longevity of your overall plan. We're now at a fantastic point in the planning process because we've established our retirement income plan, and that will serve as the foundation for our decision-making going forward. As a part of that income plan, we've identified a withdrawal strategy from our nest egg that's going to produce an additional retirement paycheck each month for us. In that sense, our retirement nest egg is going to act as our financial engine throughout retirement, bringing us from point A to point B. So we want to make sure that that financial engine is finely tuned and well calibrated based on our unique income plan, which leads us to our next question of, what is my investment strategy? When it comes to finding the optimal investment strategy, we're essentially talking about the optimal mix between stocks and bonds within your portfolio. For context, stocks have historically produced a higher return on average, but they come with more volatility. Essentially, the larger the portion of stocks within your portfolio, the more you need to be willing to stomach changes in the balance of your portfolio over time. The highs will be higher, but the lows will be lower the larger the portion of stocks within your portfolio. On the flip side, bonds act as a value stabilizer of your portfolio. Historically, they have produced a lower return on average, but they provide that insulation from market volatility that many of us hope to achieve throughout our retirement. So finding that optimal mix really comes down to identifying your unique risk tolerance and being able to stomach volatility within your retirement nest egg. It comes down to your unique retirement income plan and the average return that your portfolio needs to achieve in order to make that income plan work for you. Unfortunately, there's no broad-based, catch-all answer to how you should be allocating your portfolio. It truly does come down to your risk tolerance and your retirement income plan. But we can apply one general principle that tends to be overlooked in order to create additional value within your portfolio. This comes down to trimming investment fees whenever possible. Most people don't realize that we pay an annual fee for holding investment funds within our portfolio. With that being said, most people don't realize or pay attention to those fees, which leaves money on the table. In the example that we used before, on $1 million portfolio, if we're able at the start of retirement to reallocate high cost investments to lower cost investments, trimming investment fees by 0.25%, that's 0.25%. Once again, not many people would think much of that 0.25%, but over time, that creates cost savings within the portfolio. And that cost savings compounds on our behalf. As a result, we recognize substantial value in the portfolio by trimming investment fees. In this case, we would generate an additional $226,000 within the portfolio by simply trimming investment fees by 0.25% at the start of retirement. That's $226,000 more that could be paid out to you throughout your retirement in those nest egg paychecks. In summary, unfortunately, investment strategy is on a case-by-case basis. It's about finding the optimal allocation between stocks and bonds within your portfolio, but a catch-all value generator that should be looked at by each retiree is finding ways to trim investment fees, because that is an easy way to generate additional value and additional income for you throughout your retirement. We can now take a big deep breath because the majority of legwork on our retirement plan is done. We've established our retirement income plan, we have an asset withdrawal strategy, and hopefully we've identified an investment strategy that directly aligns and complements that retirement income plan. At this point, the following decisions really come down to our own unique preferences and situation. So the next question really pertains to the timing of distributions from our retirement nest egg. Many people tend to overlook this question because we just got done establishing our retirement income plan. So what is to address in regards to the timing of income? With that said, most people tend to default to a level retirement distribution scheme, where each bar represents the total amount of income a retiree or retirement couple would be receiving each year. And as we can see, other than some inflation adjustments, retirement distributions remain level throughout the entirety of retirement. And that is perfectly fine. But what tends to work extremely well in modern retirements is what is known as a front-loaded distribution scheme. This is where a retirement couple would receive more income in the early years of retirement when they're most active and have the best health. As long as they're willing to make some concessions and cut spending at some point throughout their retirement, we can theoretically provide more income throughout the earlier years of retirement when retirees are most active. So this tends to be an option that is a bit more intuitive for retirees who plan to be more active throughout their early years of retirement. It works extremely well for early retirements, and generally speaking, is just another decision that we should be thinking about in terms of the timing of our distributions from our nest egg. I've never had a client situation where they've directly requested a back-end distribution scheme like the one shown on screen. This is probably very counterintuitive to how each of us would like to spend our money throughout retirement, where we're getting exponentially more income in our later years as we become probably less active. However, from time to time, I do see this scenario unfold, and it's typically against the will of the retiree and to their detriment, which leads us into our next question of, do I need a retirement tax plan? A distribution scheme like this can unfold when tax planning isn't done. In a modern day retirement, tax planning can make or break our retirement plan. So let's spend some time understanding, do I need a tax plan? The majority of our retirement nest egg tends to be saved in what are known as tax-deferred retirement accounts. These would be things like traditional IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, etc. These retirement accounts are considered tax deferred because throughout our working years, as we've been making contributions to these accounts, we haven't been paying taxes on our contributions or our gains. So when it comes time for our retirement and we begin to start taking those retirement paychecks from these accounts, that's when we'll pay the taxes on those contributions and gains. However, the IRS at age 73 becomes a controlling stakeholder in your retirement tax situation. At age 73, the IRS mandates that each of us with tax-deferred accounts must start taking some percentage of that account each year from then forward. So typically that amount starts off as fairly small. Perhaps it's an amount that you were already planning on taking through your retirement distributions. However, each and every year, the portion of the account that must be withdrawn is increased. And that is where we may see a backloaded distribution scheme unfold, where we're now being forced to take more income than we might want or need throughout our retirement. As a result, a double whammy can occur where those required minimum distributions begin to force us into higher tax brackets where we're now paying more taxes on income that we might not want or need. In order to alleviate or address this situation, we must proactively look at what our projected income is going to be based on our required minimum distributions. In order to address this issue, we can utilize what is known as a Roth conversion strategy. In the case of Roth IRAs, it is simply an additional retirement account that each of us can open where we put post-tax money into this account, meaning money that we've already paid income taxes on. Once we've gotten money into our Roth IRA account, that money has already been taxed and it will grow tax-free, can be withdrawn tax-free, and will never be subject to required minimum distributions throughout your life. So Roth IRAs are an extremely valuable wealth building tool for those who might be looking at a backloaded distribution scheme. The way that tax planning works in this situation is that if we determine that your required minimum distributions will eventually force you into higher tax brackets, like the one shown on screen here, we can start to do what are known as Roth conversions by taking an additional distribution at the end of each year from your traditional or tax-deferred retirement accounts, paying the taxes on that money throughout years of favorable tax rates, getting that money into a Roth IRA and allowing it to grow tax-free and RMD-free throughout the rest of your life. So in this example, we have the couple that is cruising along throughout the early years of retirement at a very favorable tax rate. However, at age 73, we see that their required minimum distributions start to force them into higher tax brackets. In order to avoid this, throughout the early years of retirement, we would address this by taking an additional distribution at the end of each year in order to fill up that favorable tax bracket. In doing so, we're essentially creating tax savings by saving a couple of percentage points on taxes for every dollar that we convert during the early years of retirement. In this case, by converting an extra amount at the end of each year throughout the early years of retirement, we would create an additional $193,000 in tax savings that could once again be paid out to the retirement couple throughout their retirement paychecks. Tax planning is a non-negotiable within retirement planning today. Tax planning can make or break a retirement plan, and it is so crucially important to determine whether or not your tax-deferred accounts require you to start thinking about developing a retirement tax plan. At this point, we should really begin to see the framework of your retirement plan coming together. Remember, we started by building a retirement vision to identify exactly what you'd like your desired retirement lifestyle to look like. Secondly, we built a retirement income plan that directly aligns and supports that vision, utilizing both fixed and variable retirement paychecks. When it comes to those variable retirement paychecks, we have to identify a sustainable asset withdrawal strategy. Perhaps in your case, you've determined that a dynamic or guardrail strategy works best in terms of balancing getting as much income as possible while always protecting the longevity of our plan. When it comes to our retirement nest egg, we have to find that optimal mix between stocks and bonds, treating that nest egg like a finely tuned financial engine that's going to get us from point A to point B throughout our retirement. Remember, we want to always look for ways to be efficient in our investment strategy. That means trimming investment fees so that you can save more and get more paid out to you throughout your retirement. When it comes to the timing of our distributions in retirement, perhaps we've determined that we'd like to receive more income in the earlier years of retirement so we can take advantage of our good health and more active. Finally, perhaps we've determined that our traditional retirement accounts are in fact going to force us into higher tax brackets. So while we're in the early years of retirement and in more favorable tax brackets, we're going to be doing some Roth conversions to create both tax savings and reduce our required minimum distributions in the future. At this point, my hope is that you've started to see your own unique answers start to reveal themselves to you. But we're not quite done yet because we have one final question to address. And that question is really around whether or not you'd like to go through this process alone. I equate retirement to planning a really long, really expensive vacation. And hopefully it's going to be the best vacation of your life. I think we all feel really confident in being able to plan a great vacation. But this vacation's a little bit different. We really only get one shot at this thing, and the stakes are high. So in that type of situation, sometimes, depending on your preference, it can make sense to outsource some of the heavy lifting, some of the logistics to someone with more experience and more familiar with this particular destination. Someone who can recommend the best locations, the best restaurants, help you with planning the logistics, etc. I can tell you that I have some really intelligent clients who could probably learn a lot of this process on their own. But the question is, do they want to? Would the experience be the same? Would they still end up reaching their desired destination? I'd be remiss if I didn't say that this is exactly what I do for my clients on a daily basis. This is my livelihood. This is what I built my career around. My hope is that in looking at this process, identifying some of your own unique answers, you can determine for yourself whether or not it's worth bringing in outside advisors. So without further ado, this about wraps up our time together. My hope is that you've gotten a lot from this video, and I would certainly hope to hear from anyone out there who is looking for that travel planner type advice. Thank you all very much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.